Well, hello and good evening to another Wednesday evening. It's almost Christmas and it's looking as if the numbers has already gone up on the screen. And I would like to ask the people on the screen that will be on the live chat soon to share this broadcast as far and as wide as you can. Bring as many people as humanly possible to join us, to join with the chat and to talk about Brexit. Today, if we look at our news, if we listen to the news, what we're hearing is that a deal is imminent. And we just wonder, we all went to the polls on the 23rd of June in 2016, and we voted to leave the EU. Now, I mean, personally, we've named this broadcast Brexit in name only, because for the people of Northern Ireland, it is Brexit in name only. And I just wonder, will this deal that is about to come off, will it actually satisfy the Brexiteers throughout the United Kingdom? And that's whether you're in Wales, Scotland, or in England. Will the United Kingdom have a Brexit in name only? Personally, I think that they will. But I mean, we still have to see the detail. Now, they say that the entire deal as it stands right now, I mean, it hinges upon fishing rights, where the EU, they're wanting rights to fishing in British waters, and they're wanting rights to catch a quota in British waters. I mean, the whole point of Brexit, or one of the main points, was to take back fishing rights, to take back control of our laws, to create once again a fishing industry in all those fishing ports right around the United Kingdom, and to make British waters a place where British trawlers, British fishermen could go and catch British fish, and if there is such a thing, and literally sell their wares to the rest of the world. But as you see, the hinge that this hung upon was that the EU, as they normally do, what they tried to do is they were trying, and they are trying to, and they have tried to, now maybe this is sorted out by now, but they're trying to blackmail the British government that if you don't allow us to have a quota for our trawlers in British waters, then we'll not let you sell the fish across the EU. Now that really is typical of the EU, is that's what they do. They use all types of blackmail. They use all types of shenanigans in order to, I guess, corral nation states into really doing things that they shouldn't be doing. So we await the deal, and we await the deal with bated breath. And, as for Northern Ireland, well, if this deal goes right, and if there is a free trade deal, and if there is, let's just say, alignment on goods coming from the EU to the United Kingdom, if there's alignment in goods, well, that temporarily would get ourselves off the hook, whereby right now, as of today's date, as of a few weeks ago, Northern Ireland is actually aligned to the EU single market, where seemingly under the deal that Boris Johnson should do for the rest of the United Kingdom, he should have the rest of the United Kingdom outside of the EU single market. So in Northern Ireland, we sit and we wait and we try to understand what the detail of this deal is, and will there be something in this deal which will temporarily, and I say temporarily because that's what it will be, will temporarily give Northern Ireland a stay of execution and take us off the window ledge of the Union, albeit that temporarily, because the British government, they done a deal with the EU, which placed Northern Ireland in the EU backstop, or in the EU single market, and which really aligns Northern Ireland to the EU more than it does with the rest of the United Kingdom. So I would like just to play you a video which will explain this, and this is a man called Nigel Dodds. And thank you very much, George Russell. We'll have some people in the background who look for these videos, who look for videos where people are saying certain things, and we hold these videos. We hold these videos should our politicians, for example, maybe do the wrong thing in the future, and then we can remind them of their words. So tonight, it's a night, look, it's Christmas, and we've got the Christmas jumper on, and you'll see Santa there in the background, and we're only a day away from Santa coming. And I'm going to have on the screen very, very shortly a man called Aleister Mcconaughey. And Aleister, he's a man that is the director of a force for good from Scotland. And I mean, he's a man that fights tirelessly for the people of Scotland to have the rights of British citizenship, to have the rights of the people of Scotland to remain part of the greatest union that the world has ever seen, that union being the union of the United Kingdom. So let's hope that tonight, whenever we hear Boris coming on, or maybe it might be tomorrow, but let's hear within the next few days that we hear good news. We hear that our Brexit efforts, when we went to the polls and when we all voted in great numbers, 17.4 plus million people voted to leave the EU. Let's hope that vote is upheld, so we all wait with bated breath. So I would just like to play this video, and whenever this video is over, what I'll be doing is I'll be bringing Aleister on the screen, and I'd like Aleister to introduce himself and to really explain what a force for good is, and the reason why that Aleister feels the need to work within a force for good and for the benefit of the people of Scotland, and by extension, the people of the rest of the United Kingdom. So I'd just like to pop up this video, and then we'll bring Aleister in whenever the video is over. But this is for the purpose of understanding. This is for the purpose of understanding that should Boris do a deal with the EU this evening, there are still questions hanging over Northern Ireland, Northern Ireland's place in the United Kingdom, and Brexit having been delivered for the people of Northern Ireland in the same way that it would be delivered to the rest of the United Kingdom.
Weariness in this House over Brexit should not be an excuse for weakness on Brexit or weakness on the Union. It must be Brexit for the whole of the United Kingdom, leaving the single market and the customs union, if that is what the rest of the UK does, along with the rest of the UK. This deal puts Northern Ireland, yes, in the UK customs union, but applies de facto all the European customs union code. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Read the detail. It also puts us in the VAT regime. Yes. It also puts us in the single market regime for a large part of goods and agri-food without any consent up front, contrary to the agreement made in December 2017, which said that only regulatory difference could happen with the consent of the Executive and the Assembly. It drives a coach and horses through the Belfast Agreement by altering the cross-community consent mechanism. It was once said that no British Prime Minister could ever agree to such terms. And indeed, those who sought the leadership of the Tory party said that at our conference. Yes. Will he now abide by that? And please reconsider the fact that we must leave as one nation together. There may be special circumstances for Northern Ireland, but that can only be with the consent of the people of Northern Ireland, Unionists and Nationalists together. That is the basis on which the peace process, the political process, has advanced.
I would like to just remind the DUP, I would like to remind Nigel Dodds of his words that the principle of consent, which is in the Belfast Agreement of 1998, means that there can be no constitutional change without the say-so, without a referendum being put to the people. And there was no referendum. And under this current deal, if Northern Ireland is placed outside of the UK, and if we are placed in the EU single market, but the rest of the United Kingdom isn't, well, you see, that is constitutional change. And it runs contrary also to the Act of the Union 1801 and Article 6 in that Act of the Union 1801, where it says and it stipulates that there should be no bounties or tariffs between any constituent part of the United Kingdom. And that's whether it be coming from Wales, England, or Scotland to Northern Ireland, or back the other way. So it'll be interesting to see how that all this plays out. And I have to say, there's a nervousness in Northern Ireland this evening, because if we are to try to rely on our politicians, well, the past few weeks has just shown that we can't rely on our politicians. We can't rely on our politicians to fight for our survival in a meaningful, proactive way, in a way that defends, that protects, and enhances Northern Ireland's place in the United Kingdom. And why do I say that? Well, I say that because just last Wednesday, Arlene Foster, the leader of the DUP, was in a North-South Ministerial Council meeting in Armagh, and she was agreeing the mechanisms whereby that this backstop by which this protocol, the Northern Ireland Protocol, could be put in place, which effectively separates Northern Ireland from the rest of the United Kingdom. You know, I'm reminded of the words of Edward Carson. Edward Carson is one of the founding father of Northern Ireland. And, you know, I'm reminded of his words when he said that Wen is a unionist, not a unionist, when he causes, or when she causes, disunity. And to be effectively working with a foreign power to put in place the protocol by which that we would be separated from the rest of the United Kingdom, by which that we would have tariffs placed on our goods contrary to the Act of the Union and contrary to the principle of consent contained within the Belfast Agreement of 1998. Well, you see, those words from Edward Carson, they ring true today, and they're more fitting for today as they were when they were spoken around 100 years ago. So I would like to bring in Aleister Mcconaughey, and I'm sure that people that are watching this evening, they're all familiar with Aleister. They're all familiar with A Force for Good. And, you know, Aleister, whenever I bring you in, I would like you to start by explaining who you are, what A Force for Good is, and I would like for you to tell people a bit about what it was that you were doing at the weekend. I mean, you were involved in some activism at the weekend, and I would just like for you to explain that, to give us all something to really to examine within our own conscience. Is that what is a unionist? What should a unionist be? And as I said a moment ago, you know, a unionist should be defending, should be protecting, and should be enhancing the United Kingdom in every way, shape, and form. Well, I believe Aleister is that guy, and I believe we need more of this type of guy. And, you know, together we can take back what is rightfully ours. So I'd like for you to welcome Aleister Mcconaughey.
Well, John, thank you very much for that very gracious welcome, and I'm delighted to be on your show for the second time. And when you spoke to me, you said, make sure you wear a Christmas jumper. So I have got this is actually a Union Jack Christmas jumper. If I stand up a little and you examine it, you can see that it actually has, that's the St. Patrick's cross right there. And there's the St. George's cross with the white and the blue and everything. So there's not very many Union Jack Christmas jumpers, but this is one of the styles. So I thought we're better to wear it than on your show tonight. So thanks very much for having us on. We at A Force for Good, we've been going for 9 years. We started 2 years before the 2014 referendum. We realized that somebody had to say and do something to try to, as you put it so eloquently there, to protect, defend, and enhance the union. And that's three good words which I like, and which I'm going to use, if you don't mind, in future material. I like that, and that's what we've tried to do through our website, through our social media platforms, and also through our physical activism, which is often standing up to the Scottish nationalist marches, waving the red, white and blue, waving the flags of all of our United Kingdom, and promoting togetherness against their separatism. And you mentioned Edward Carson there saying that somebody who's not a unionist is somebody who causes disunity. Well, here in Scotland, as of course in Northern Ireland, we have a certain element of the population that does cause disunity, and that's unfortunate. But somebody has to stand up and speak against that and speak for unity and togetherness. And these ideas are, I mean, these ideas are good ideas. They're not like they're easily sold. So we do have a growing number of supporters here in Scotland, and we're now entering a stage where it's becoming extremely important. Now, you mentioned, just to mention what I was doing at the weekend, that was related to something that the Scottish National Party council that runs Edinburgh are doing. They are looking at all the British symbolism in Edinburgh and within the Black Lives Matter frame of things. So they're looking at to what extent Edinburgh's history is bound up in things that they don't agree with, which really just comes down to anything to do with British history, quite frankly, because they don't like anything in our British past. They don't like Scots people of the past that had the wrong political opinion to what they do today, and they'll likely smear these people as, well, the usual smear terms that we get these days. So last Saturday we were in St Andrew's Square, and we were dealing with an issue that's been long running for the last 9 months, which is that the SNP council, in cooperation with some of the BLM people in Edinburgh, want to smear the good name of one of Scotland's greatest sons, who is Henry Dendaz, who has a 150-foot memorial in St Andrew's Square. Now, Henry Dendaz was a great unionist, and I was actually also quite a progressive man in his time as well. But he also upset the Scottish nationalists because for various reasons. One of the reasons being that at the time that he was around, which was at the turn of the 19th century, and this is bringing us into this whole European Union thing today, actually. At the turn of the 19th century, between like 1796 to 1805, it was just shortly after the French Revolution. And there were there weren't a lot of people, but there was an element of people in Scotland who would be called radicals, who were basically pro-French Revolution. And he was keeping an eye on them. He had his spies, and he was he regarded them, as many people did in Britain at the time, as basically traitors. They were pro-French Revolution. They would make their excuses that they were for this or that, but they were basically siding with what was Britain's enemy at the time, which of course was the French and Napoleon. So he was keeping an eye on them, but they were more sympathetic with the French than they were with the British. And that's where we are today with many people in the Scottish National Party. They're actually more sympathetic with the European Union and with the continent than they are with their nearest neighbours, who might just be 30 miles away in Carlisle or something like that, So there's always been an element of certain Scots who identify with the continent and with the French in particular, but generally with others, more so than they even care about their literal family members, even their brothers or sisters-in-law who happen to be just a few miles away in England. And there's this mentality that we've got here in Scotland that we just have to deal with. They've always been with us, though. And when you study history, you can see that we've had that element going right back. So we arrive at where we are today, and we have people like the Scottish National Party and the Scottish Cabbage Party, aka the Scottish Greens, we call them the Cabbage Party, who basically support, who will wax lyrical about our brothers and sisters on the continent and our brothers and sisters in Europe and the importance of trade with Europe and the importance of being friendly with Europe. But when it comes to being friendly with basically the English a few miles away, none of that counts. None of that's relevant. They literally prefer the European Union. They literally prefer people whose language they can't speak, people that they've never met, people that they have no intention of ever going to live with. They literally prefer them for their own various reasons over their own essential kith and kin right here in our nation of families known as the United Kingdom. So that's the crazy thing that we have to deal with when we deal with the SNP. And another thing about the SNP is that they're not aiming to look out for the best interests of Scotland in the United Kingdom. So during this Brexit debate, they've not been talking about, we're going to try to secure the best interests of Scotland within the United Kingdom. No, that's not even on the radar. All they want to do is destroy the United Kingdom. And if they can weaponize Brexit, then they will do so in order to simply destroy the United Kingdom. I mean, make no mistake, they want Brexit to fail. Okay, they'll be quite happy if the supermarkets run out of food. They'll be quite happy if there's some sort of fishing war. They'll be quite happy if the temple falls down upon themselves, because they literally want to cut off their own nose to spite their face and destroy all hope in Brexit, because their primary concern, and this is what we have to understand about the Scottish nationalists, and I can't necessarily speak for politics where you are, but certainly with the Scottish nationalists, they simply want Brexit to fail, and they don't care what the consequences for Scotland or the rest of the United Kingdom are going to be as a result of that. So when you look at Nicola Sturgeon or whatever, she takes the view of Private Fraser in Dad's Army, is that she wants us all to be doomed and entombed and marooned, basically. We're all doomed, entombed, and marooned. She wants it all just to come crashing down. It's all just pessimism. There's nothing there positive. So if you live here in Scotland and you listen to the SNP, all you get from them is a diet of disaster, a diet of doom. And you have to have a will of steel, or you have to at least have alternative sources of information to know that that's not right, to know that in fact Brexit offers great possibilities for Scotland and for all of the United Kingdom. The question is, do we have politicians who can articulate that, who have the positive vision of what it can bring to everybody and to all parts of society, regardless of what your political opinion is? I mean, I don't know what it's like. I don't know what it is like in Northern Ireland as far as the vision thing is concerned around Brexit, if people are really just hoping that we're somehow going to get through this. So what's the story there?
Yeah. I mean, if you listen to the mainstream media, Aleister, and that's one of the drivers, unfortunately, is the mainstream media. And I go a wee bit further, and I'd say the globalist controlled mainstream media.
Oh, yeah.
Everything that comes off the mainstream media today is all about doom and gloom. Now, I have never seen, is it Katya Adler, I think they call her? I mean, I was watching the World News just before I come on here, and I've never seen a smile on her face like the smile I've just seen ever since, I guess, the 23rd of June in 2016. So that really tells me that what she's hearing through the grapevine isn't really going to suit the rest of the United Kingdom. So again, I say that we'll reserve our judgment until we see this. And somehow we hope that what it does is that it provides Northern Ireland with a stay of execution. And just on that subject, I mean, that happens everywhere. That happens with these politicians. These politicians with their political parties and the names that they attach to themselves. Well, I often say that they should be taken to court under the Trades Description Act, because Scottish Nationalist Party, well, you see, nationalism is about keeping your country. It's not about giving it away. It's not about leaving the United Kingdom, one union, to go into a bigger union. It's not about leaving a union where you have even a devolved assembly and you have a relative control of your country, only to go off and to hand it away to where you've no control. So, I mean, that's the way that that's the mentality of these people. And these people, I mean, I just don't know what's in their heads, because we've got the same here in Northern Ireland, where we've got, say, for example, the media's darling. The media's darling is a party called the Alliance Party, and they're the preferred party of the media, and they get an easy ride on the media. It doesn't matter how bunkers they sound, what they say, how many times that they've been found out, even where they're misquoting figures in the wrong way. It doesn't matter what they say. You see, the media will continue to promote them as the good and everybody else as the bad. And then we have Sinn Féin, those pretend Republicans, those people that say that they're fighting for Ireland, they're freeing Ireland. One Armani suit at a time is the reality, because all these people have made a lot of money out of politics, and you just have to witness them. And there'd be no shortage of money in their households. I like to say that over Christmas, and their money will go on no matter what, and that's just how that it is. So yeah, I mean, we have also then our own politicians, and I don't know what you find in Scotland with your conservative politicians, but certainly our conservative types in Northern Ireland. I mean, I like to say that they're politically castrated and they're rendered impotent by the media, because if they come out in the media and if they go to stand up against anything, what happens is that there's a media frenzy, and then the angry mob mentality, it comes about, and then the politicians get frightened to open their mouths. And I've had this out with our politicians many times, and I say, you've got the collective will of the unionist people of Northern Ireland behind you, and they're the only opinions that matter. And we'll not worry about the left-wing media. We'll not worry about these pretend parties which say that they're nationalists and they want to hand their country on to the EU, or will not pretend about these so-called alliance type party, where they say that they're a party which is there to represent all of the people of Northern Ireland, but seemingly they're only headed in one way, and that is for handing everything over to the dictatorial ways of the EU, and by extension, and which really will supersede this in the very near future, is the dictatorial ways of globalization. And we see globalization, Aleister, coming down our line, at a rate which is unbelievable. I mean, the forces at which this is being pushed into place. I mean, I could have never imagined that we'd have been here at the end of 2020. I spoke to a leading politician in Northern Ireland just last year, and he said, that he perhaps would give it 15 years. Well, I had said, well, I give it a lot less than that, but how wrong were both of us whenever we witness exactly where we are at the end of 2020. And Aleister, would just like to extend on something that you just said there, and you were talking about Dendaz, and you were talking about this group that has came around, and this is as a result of globalization, and this is globalization in its in its finest form. Over the summer, we noticed the rise of this Black Lives Matter. This Black Lives Matter, which came into being because the police service in America, because a man died, let's just say that. And, without getting into the reasons why he died or what type of a person he was or whatever, I mean, when a man dies, I mean, I can say this, that you can rob a robber, or you can rape a prostitute, and excuse that expression. And the reality is that no matter what a person is, he should never be killed and that's under any circumstances. I mean, he should have been, taken, and, if he'd done wrong, well then, the full rigors of the law should be applied against him, and he should face a court of law, and that's how I see things, and that's how any reasonable mind would see things. But look what just happened, you see. As a result of that, this Black Lives Matter, it rose up all around the globe. And these people, these very people, seemingly they had another agenda, because they were going for our statues, they were going for our monuments and our memorials, and they were going for, I mean, look, I was seeing a scene in London where there was this chap that was trying to, on the cenotaph, was trying to burn the flags. And recently, he got a little slap on the wrist, and he got let off. Well, you see, in the last few days, as an extension of that, and this is me speaking and extending on what you just said, in Northern Ireland, we now have the PSNI, the Policing Service of Northern Ireland, and they're now coming out and they're now giving an apology for, giving fines out to these Black Lives Matter people. Whenever there was the regulations there and they were standing up against everybody else, the PSNI have decided to make themselves, where they're not impartial, where they haven't offered an apology to anyone else, but they've offered an apology to people who were protesting on behalf or for what happened to George Floyd. And, I just look at that and I just, it beggars belief. And some people had said to me over the past few days that, this is just unbelievable. But Aleister, I'm going to tell you, you see, we do some research here at Restore, just like yourselves. And if anyone cares to go and look at the World Economic Forum, and you look at what the World Economic Forum is promoting right now, and they're promoting this thing called the Great Reset. And if you look at the Great Reset, and if you look at the areas whereby the globalists want to reset, you see, in that mix is they say that the world's full of institutional racism. This is what they say. And then it was funny that the chief constable of the PSNI yesterday came out and offered an apology to the Black Lives Matter protesters. And then straight after that, as if it didn't even, what that man had said didn't even hardly make the airwaves. And then we had a piece in the local newsletter, and it's where that a mixed race PSNI inspector, by the way, quote unquote, he was a police inspector. He said that there's institutional racism within the PSNI. So I asked the question, Aleister, how did this man rise to the rank of inspector if there's institutional racism? But you see, this is how these people do things.
Well, absolutely. That's an extremely good point. I mean, his very fact of his job makes it very clear that there's not such things. But no, this is basically what we've faced in this very unusual year of 2020 is a revolution, and it's a silent revolution. And in a sense, it's a pushback against the revolution of 2016. Now, in 2016, two amazing things happened that nobody thought would happen. And the first was, of course, Brexit in June of that year, which was a silent revolution, a democratic revolution. But it was nevertheless a revolution, because every single major political power that existed within the UK at the time, and in fact still exists, the media and most of Parliament and all of our legislators throughout all the devolved assemblies and at Westminster, all of whom were for staying in the EU. Here in Scotland, we have 129 MSPs. There were 5 of those who were for leaving the EU. Now, I believe there was 2 Labour and there was 3 Tories, and that was it. Okay. And the entire mainstream media here in Scotland, television, radio, and newspapers were all for staying in. Yeah. But nevertheless, despite that full spectrum dominance of the pro-EU as you say, globalist, essentially, globalist technocracy and politicalocracy, if that's a word. Despite that, over 1 million Scottish people had the presence of mind and the independence of mind to vote to leave, even though all of the MSPs and all of the leaders of the parties, the Tory, Labour, Lib Dem, SNP and Green, 5 of them, there's pictures on the internet which you can Google of them literally standing together, shoulder to shoulder, with Remain placards. Despite that, over 1 million people in Scotland voted to leave. And when you think about that, that's amazing, really. And it gives me hope, at least for humanity, that people weren't being influenced by the full spectrum dominance of the media. And of course, that was reflected to a greater extent in other parts of the United Kingdom, especially England and Wales. And so that was a revolution, and the political class was not ready for that, and they're still not ready for that. And that's why this has taken so insufferably long to get resolved, and how it's maybe never ever going to be properly resolved, as you've been touching on tonight. Because the political class does not want this to happen. Make no mistake, they're doing this against their better judgment. Okay, they never wanted this, and they don't want it. And we don't have you and me running the cabinet, in which case we would just be zooming ahead with all the great things that Brexit can bring. All these people are going to do is just try to just slow this down and make it as hard as possible. And I mean, if it was you and me who were talking to these European Union folk, you know, we'd have got this sorted long ago. We'd have got a proper deal for Northern Ireland. And everybody would be confident that Brexit is going to be a great British success. But we've got all these people who don't want even to be in this situation, having basically to deal with us. So they don't have the ideology, they don't have the philosophy that enables them just to get this sorted and get it sorted like yesterday. So that's that was one revolution. And of course, the other revolution, which is being presently overturned, was of course the Trump victory in America, which the system seems to have successfully overturned, unfortunately, in my opinion, after 4 years. But these were 2 big things that happened in 2016, and the system, the globalists, don't ever want any of that to happen again. Let's hope we get some sort of Brexit deal that will keep the United Kingdom together. But we have to understand that the people who are making the decisions for us don't want to be even in this position. You know, they're not. Their heart's not in it. Their heart is not in it. And that's a real problem when you've got a leadership. But going back to what you're talking about there with the Black Lives Matter, I realized that this was a further psychological warfare. And psychological warfare upon our heads has been big this year. Big, in the sense that it's been trying to change and has successfully changed in some cases our literal behavior, walking down the street or getting onto a bus. You know, there's been a big psychological attack, you could say, upon us all this year, and to change behavior. And one of the things that I believe has also been part of that has been the Black Lives Matter movement, which has been trying to promote this crazy notion of racism in the UK and in America, and indeed in the Western world, where it's not really appropriate. You know, these days, the United Kingdom is very much, a multicultural society. Nobody is really being held back in any way, shape, or form because of your race or your religion. The idea is kind of absurd, but it's being promoted as if it's a real thing when it's not a real thing. And it's doing it on a racial basis. And I'm not inclined necessarily to talk about white and black and all that kind of stuff, but it is obviously an attack on people who are white, you know, and saying, oh, because you're responsible for this or that or whatever. That's a very unusual and, quite frankly, a wrong thing to do. And what woke me up was, I think it might have been that same night when the bloke was trying to burn the flag, or that might have been 2 weeks later. I can't remember. But somebody scrawled, "Winston Churchill is a racist," okay, on his statue. Now, Boris Johnson, right, who lives about 150 yards up from that statue, has written a biography of Winston Churchill. Okay, so he knows everything there is to know about Winston Churchill. Yet for at least a week, Boris was silent about that. Whereas what he should have come out and done was just like, he should have gone down there with a megaphone and defended Winston Churchill's honour, just as we at A Force for Good are trying to defend Henry Dendaz's honour, and we've done it several times this year in St Andrew's Square. Boris Johnson, our leader, our Prime Minister, should have gone down there and done that, and made a case for Winston Churchill, and basically told these people, stay away from the statue and don't degrade and defame our great British heroes. But he was silent. Like, he was scared. He was locked up in 10 Downing Street, which, as I say, is 150 yards away from the Churchill statue. So I was very disappointed. And at that moment, I became very worried for the future of this country, because I thought we're effectively leaderless in the face of these nasty smears that are being made against our great British heroes. Who's speaking for us? You know, well, you and I are speaking for us, but we've only got a limited reach. You know, we expect our political establishment to speak for our heroes, especially we expect a prime minister to stand up for a previous prime minister, regardless of who that prime minister was, and regardless of whether or not he was, you know, good, bad, or indifferent, depending upon your value system. So that worried me. And I don't think we've heard the last of the BLM people. I think, if you want my own personal opinion, the Biden presidency, which is probably coming, is going to make it a lot worse in 2021, certainly in America. And as we know, what happens in America very much comes over to the United Kingdom. So all of us who respect all our British heroes, and not just our statues, but our street names and our names of institutions and so on, they're all going to come under attack in the next year or two. And we have to be ready to stand up, because it is an attack upon the basis of our nation. Because what is our British nation if it is not involving our heroes, men and women who have gone before, and maintaining their good name and telling good stories about them? You know, because everybody's got a good story to tell about them. You could also find bad stories to tell about people as well. The BLM people want to find the bad stories and they want to elevate them, whereas what we have to do is just get the good stories out there, because what is a nation if it is not its stories, you know? So A Force for Good is certainly, we're for the union politically, but we've also got that cultural sense, the historical sense, and the sense of what actually makes the nation in the first place. And that is the men and women who have gone before and who have created where we are today. And we have to esteem them and protect, defend, and enhance, to use your 3 words.
Yeah. You see, Aleister, you hit the nail on the head there when you talked about that, you know, what's going to come down our line is when this thing gets more prominent. And as I said, we can see it now in the World Economic Forum. It's part of the Great Reset. What they're going to do is they're going to say that you're racist. Even if you don't think that you're racist, you might be racist. You know, you've got conscious or unconscious racism. I mean, they're teaching that in schools now.
Yeah.
I mean, we need not to take those labels. And if our politicians won't stand up and fight for our survival in this meaningful, proactive way that I talk about, well, you see, what our politicians need to do, Aleister, and this is an appeal to the politicians, and this is something that I have done in the past where I lobbied them, and I said, well, if you won't stand up, what you do is you empower us. you get us mainstream media capability, and we'll go toe-to-toe with these people, and we'll tell them that they're wrong, and we'll tell them that the people of the United Kingdom aren't racist, and we'll stand up and we'll go and stand alongside people, and we'll ensure that they're not labelled in this way, this unfair label. But why does that label exist? Why are these people trying to put those labels on our people? And we've seen it within the PSNI today, as I say, this inspector saying that there's institutional racism in the PSNI, and if that was the case, he would have never have got to where he was. But look, people, this is pure and utter propaganda, and the PSNI can take me up on that, and I'll debate any single one of them on that issue, and that's the truth of the matter, and I'll show conclusively that those people have agenda, and the agenda is this: it's this great reset, and it's the institutional racism that is being pushed in our line. But why are they doing this? I'll explain to you. You see, who knows what a hierarchy of rights is, and who can look right across the broad political spectrum right now, and who can identify people within certain groups that have a hierarchy of rights? And we've seen how that, for example, on the streets of Scotland, and I've seen the videos, Aleister, where there might be maybe a Christian preacher, and what he's doing is he's preaching from the Bible, and somebody comes up to him and says that he's offended and gets police, and then the police arrest him. And this is happening right around the Western border right now. You see, and the reason why that happens is because the group that would be making the complaint, they say that they're offended, and they have this thing called a hierarchy of rights. You see, what they're aiming to do right now is they're aiming to give newcomers a hierarchy of rights. And let me just put a little disclaimer in here right now. And people that know me knows that I can speak about this with authority. And the reason that I can speak with this with authority is that I don't think anybody could call me a racist. And to the people that knows me, they know that fine well, and they know that I have many friends from different nations, and that, I would attend regularly a place in Dublin, a place called All Nation Church, where there's 65 different nations, and I have to say the people within that church are the salt of the earth. Why? Because they wanted to come to, and I'm not part of Ireland, but I would go down there with a friend from there, and I would often be invited around his church. And those people, they come together because they want to come together. They're not being forced together. They're not being forced together in a way that what it does, because this is what the globalist idea is they say that they're creating togetherness by enhancing one at the expense of another, by demonizing, diminishing one, whilst they build up others. And that is not the way to create togetherness within society. Togetherness happens whenever people want to be together, when people are not forced to fight with each other, to have contention with each other. And all these globalists are doing is they are causing contention. And I had a meeting with a man that's a professor, and he's a man that works for the UN, and he works for this thing called the George Mitchell Institute for Global Peace. And I met with him in February of this year. And something, I've had another meeting with him since, and I said to him, how prescient was I? Because what was I warning of, Aleister? I was warning of people being driven into their own respective ideologies, people being driven into their own respective nations. And what's going to happen? There's this rise right now, right across the Western world, of what we call ethno-nationalism. And it's unfortunate. Do we blame those people for being driven that way? Well, look, you can't blame them for what is happening. They're being told that they're racist whenever they're not. And these globalists have a lot to answer for. But then again, I would say, you see, this is exactly what they want. What they want to do is they want to divide society. They want to keep people at each other's throats. They want to keep people fighting with each other. And meantime, they're pushing in things left, right, and centre, onto the table, behind the door, behind our backs. And before we know it, we're focusing on the wrong things. Really, what we should be focusing on is our politicians that know what is happening, and they're letting it happen. So I'm going to propose to the people right across the United Kingdom, the people that is watching right now. And Aleister, as I said to you before, and some of the other people that we've already met, is that we're going to be working together. We're going to be working together for the benefit of the entire United Kingdom. We're going to be working together for the collective, the people, the British people of the United Kingdom, and that includes the newcomers that want to come and make this country a place of mutual benefit for everyone, a place that is safe and secure for each and every one of us to live, because, we're not insular. What we do, we recognize the benefit of people coming to the country and contributing to the country and paying the taxes, but provided, as a man from Italy said to me last year, he said to me, John, Salvini said, if you want to come to our country and you don't want to force your culture, if you don't want to force your religion, if you want to work within this country for the mutual benefit of everyone, Salvini said, well, then you're welcome in this country. And I think that's a great ethos to have. And, that's the way that things should be done, and not in a way that what happens is that the newcomers are enhanced over the indigenous folk, because that is a recipe for disaster. And this is what these globalists want. Aleister.
Absolutely. And the thing what we've got as well, especially with the BLM thing, is that a lot of it is not actually the ethnic minorities promoting it. In fact, that's often not happening at all. What's happening is you've got a certain type of white person who is promoting all of that, and who's doing it very often, and just making things worse as well, in many ways. And you said, why is this happening? You asked that, and I think it's happening because the point is that if you can make a person feel uncomfortable about the past of their country, then they're not going to stand up for their country today. So this is why the SNP love BLM. It's probably why the Sinn Féiners in Northern Ireland love BLM. I presume they do anyway. It's because that they know that it makes people today feel awkward about the United Kingdom. Oh, I thought Nelson won the Battle of Trafalgar. Oh, was he this or that? Which he wasn't, of course. But if you can make a great British hero into something that's tainted, then you're going to feel less inclined to stand up for that person. You're less inclined to stand up for that history. You're less inclined to be interested in it, to even study it, and certainly you're not going to venerate it in any way. And so if you can make people feel bad about the past, then you can make them shut up about the present. And that's what's happening with it. So it's a political movement. And it's in America, for example, they're trying to change America totally from the idea of, as we understand America, from the British colonialism to the Civil War and so on and so forth. They're just trying to befoul all of that so that they can start from year zero, and they can start from some new Biden, Kamala Harris concept of what the United States is, which of course will be an open border globalist world, which has got no history, and any history it has is tainted in some terrible original sin way. So that's what's happening in America, and that's what they're trying to push through in the United Kingdom, is taint your history so nobody will stand up for it, and nobody will stand up for the political reality of our wonderful United Kingdom.
Yeah, undermining the foundations, and if the foundations are undermined, what happens is that we cannot stand, and that's exactly so. What we need to do is that we need to be protecting those foundations, and it's going to come like an onslaught in 2021, where I mean, lists, as far as I know, being drawn up already to remove these statues, and that's just our memorials, and Britishness, and all our history. The people that fought and died for the United Kingdom, the people from all constituent parts of the United Kingdom who gave themselves to stand between what was aggression and a sense of normality for the people of the United Kingdom. And greater love hath no man than a man that would lay down his life to protect his friends. And I changed those words slightly, but the biblical texts that were associated with our veterans down throughout the years, I mean, that's another foundation that is under attack with these people, our Judeo-Christian values. And let me explain to people here that no matter why that you're a Christian, you're not a Christian, well, no matter what you believe in God, no matter why you don't believe in God, you see, those Judeo-Christian values are very, 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 and I'll put quote unquote important, because they're so important that, you see, you have under those values, you have a thing called free will. And that's your right to choose. Choose you this day whom or what that you will serve, whether you want to believe in God, whether you don't want to believe in God. But what those values give you is they give us the basis by which that we can have stability within society. And the opposite of that stability, the opposite of that free will, is totalitarianism. And totalitarianism, it leads to, and I use their term is chaos. And the amount of times that I've heard chaos since the Brexit referendum, where the left often say that, oh, this is chaotic. There's chaos at the minute in Dover because the trucks are backed up. But you see, because that's what the left supporters are causing. I mean, it wasn't the Brexiteers that caused that. What it was is that it was Emmanuel Macron deciding not to let those trucks travel freely. And then we had a man called Guy Verhofstadt in the last few days. I mean, he's to do with the EU. And if there was a man that was like, that could fit the persona of Adolf Hitler, it's Guy Verhofstadt himself. Let's just look at a video of Guy Verhofstadt and then we'll go on. We'll get back to Brexit and we'll discuss some of this. And I would like to say to the people, thanks for staying with us. Thanks for keeping the numbers up and, contribute to the live chat. And look, I would also like to ask you, and this is me just appealing to everybody, in 2021, myself, Aleister, other people from Wales and England, we've came together and we're not going apart. This is the new normal, Aleister, and this is the way that it's going to be. Absolutely. Yeah, so I would like for the people on our live chat today, I would like for you to make some recommendations about how that we should go forward in 2021, what it is that you would like to see within the channels. I mean, one thing that I'm going to go with, or we're going to go with here at Restore, not just me, but the people in the background, I'm doing them a disservice there, but you had a telethon just a few weeks ago, Aleister. So what we're going to do is we're going to open up our chat to phone-ins. And we're looking at the technology right now. What we're going to be able to do is people are going to be able to phone us in and we're going to be able to have a chat with the people and we're going to be able to answer some questions. And if we don't have the questions or the answers to the questions, well, what we would like to do is we would like then to have other people answer the questions from the live chat. So that's one of the things that we want to do in 2021. So please make some, tell us what it is that we should be doing, because this platform, Aleister's platform, is not just about us. It's about you, the people on the live chat also. And together we can fight meaningfully, proactively, in a way that defends, protects, and enhances each and every one of us, each and every constituent part of the United Kingdom, because together we are strong. And believe me, that's the way we need to be, because our enemies, and I put no gloss in this, our enemies in the left wing, our enemies in republicanism, our enemies in the globalization, you see, what they do is they team together in order to derail our successes. So isn't it time that we team together in order to give them much of the same of what they're giving us? So that's what I would like to do in 2020.
Yes, just before you go to your video, I would second that, and I would also say that the mainstream media, television news that people watch, you need to watch that with a pinch of salt as well, and you'll get better content and advice these days from simply watching independent commentators than watching what you and I grew up with, which was we respected certain media channels, but these media channels today, unfortunately, are, they've got a whole big question mark hanging over them, especially the way they've dealt with this year.
Yeah. So as our surrounding on the screen actually would suggest, and as the jumpers, the Christmas jumpers would actually say it is the season to be jolly. So no matter what, we're going to make this stream a happy stream. Now, we are discussing matters of Brexit, and if it was left to the politicians, the mainstream politicians and the mainstream media, well, it would be all doom and gloom. Well, look, we're not prepared to let that happen. There's still a smile on my face. There's still a smile on Aleister's face. And something, as I say, it's the end of the beginning. It's not the beginning of the end. And that's even if Boris does a treacherous deal this evening. Well, you see, we've still got fight, and we've got, we can do this. We've got we've got get up and go, and what we need is, and we've got plenty of people working in the backgrounds respectively who also have this this drive, and together we can drive forward and make ourselves stronger than ever before, stronger than we've ever seen in recent years. We have the potential to do that, and that's exactly what we should do. So I would like to just play this video of Hitler's little brother, Guy Verhofstadt. And, you know, I don't know, maybe I'll get sued for doing that, because I know that there's all sorts of bonkers rules in the EU that you're not allowed to criticise them. But look, I would like to ask people to make their own decisions whenever. Look, you're going to hear one man speaking here, which was Donald Tusk last year. And just listen to what he said, and then read what Guy Verhofstadt had to say, and then we'll come back on our screen and pay particular attention to a great British unionist, you know, and for the rights and wrongs of this woman. And I know that she done things on certain parts or on different constituent parts of the United Kingdom. I have to say, you know, in terms of British prime ministers, this one did put, you know, her words matched her deeds, and I haven't seen that ever since this lady has left this scene of time. So look, we'd just like to play this video, and we'll come back and we'll chat about it.
By the way, I've been wondering what that special place in hell looks like for those who promoted Brexit.
We didn't join Europe to be swallowed up in some bureaucratic conglomerate where it's Euro this and Euro that, and forget about being British. We're British, and we're proud of it. Proud of our traditions, proud of our national character.
Many people paid the ultimate sacrifice to stand up for our United Kingdom. And, you know, lest we forget, we're never going to forget those sacrifices. And when you listen to Donald Tusk there, and what did he say? He says that hell holds a special place for Brexiteers.
Well, there's going to be an awful lot of people, unfortunately, in hell having a big party. I think I have to tell poor old Donald, and he's not invited to that party. I have to tell you.
Yeah, they ever look at Guy Verhofstadt himself, and you know, and look, people, I don't know why you noticed that or not, but Guy Verhofstadt actually admitted that the EU were playing politics yesterday by stopping the lorries from travelling from you know, Dover to Calais yesterday, and from the bottom of England into France. And that's exactly what he was admitting. But look, that just shows you, I mean, that's us vindicated. That's Brexiteers vindicated. That's the reason why we wanted to leave this dictatorial Ponzi scheme that is the EU. And, you know, isn't it unfortunate that this is the way that it has turned out? Because the reality is that, you know, when unions work together, when people work together, you know, if countries were to work together for a mutual benefit in a way that would make secure and prosperous each and every one of us, you know, that's the thing to do. And, you know, we weren't voting to leave our neighbours right across the Europe. It was the EU. It was those dictators at the top of it that don't listen to people. I mean, it happens so many times down throughout the years, even in Ireland, whenever they vote against Europe, and it happened in several other countries. Whenever they give the vote at the ballot box, you know, in a democratic referendum, the vote that EU don't want, and then what they do is they send them back to the polls. And look how long it is that we've been waiting. 23rd of June 2016. We're now moving towards 2021, and still we haven't left the EU. But yet that was the democratic will, and not just the democratic will, but the democratic right of the people, the Brexiteers of the United Kingdom. And isn't it unfortunate that these people, and this is what you were saying earlier, Aleister, is that these people don't care what they do in the process to have their way. They don't care if they destroy the single greatest asset that we as people have for settling societal contentions. And that single greatest asset is democracy itself. And if we lose democracy, What do we have? We have dictatorship. We have totalitarianism. Now, this seems to be the way that these people want to travel. So, isn't it time that our politicians, respectively, wherever we are from, whether that be Northern Ireland, Wales, in England, or in Scotland, our respective politicians, isn't it time that what they did was they searched their consciences, and they realized that what they are doing is they are dooming their, and this is what Nicola Sturgeon would do, but they're dooming their children and their children's children to a future of a future like we didn't witness that. We grew up with free will. We grew up with the freedoms that our forefathers provided for us. And I like living in a free society. I like to be able to be offended. I like to be able to offend. Not that I go out to offend, but if I say something that offends somebody, I don't mean them any harm. That's the truth of the matter. But we need to have the right to be able to say what it is that we see, to point out corruption, to point out bad law, to point out where our politicians are going wrong. We need to have that right, because if we don't have that right, we don't have democracy, Aleister. Aleister, what do you think of that video in general?
I think that when it spoke about this is what borders looks like, yes, we're all very aware what borders look like. In fact, the reason that we voted for Brexit was because an awful lot of people in the United Kingdom decided that they wanted to start seeing a border again, whether that was a border on goods. And some of us do believe that goods should have a border and there shouldn't just be some kind of huge free market that the globalists want. And some of us also thought, quite rightly, that we should also have a border as far as people are concerned as well. And that's what we voted. That's why we voted for Brexit. And I think that maybe this is getting lost in the mix here, in that, Boris Johnson needs to understand that people want to, the people who voted for Brexit want to see borders enforced, okay? And obviously, in many ways, that's borders on people per se, but it's also borders on goods as well. We don't want to see our indigenous industry, whatever that may be, being undermined by cheap imports as well. So people voted for that too, I know there's a particular brand of Brexiteer thought which doesn't like the EU because it thinks that the EU is protectionist and it wants a complete global free market. But there's that argument, but that's not the argument that won the Brexit referendum. The argument that won the Brexit referendum is that we want borders on the movement of people and on the movement of goods, where those goods are going to start undermining our own jobs and industry. So, when the Guy Verhofstadt talks about this is what borders looks like, yeah, we know what borders looks like, and we're for that. We're not against borders. And borders do require sometimes hard borders with customs duty and so on and so forth. So I think that's the hard border thing is part of the Brexit deal that we voted for. As for that particular thing yesterday, when the French shut down the borders, that was just a stunt for the media that lasted for no more than 24 hours or so. And that was just trying to rub it in to Boris at this particular time to make things awkward for him. That's not something that's going to continue here on ever after, because nobody wants that. The people on the continent don't want the goods that they've bought from Britain to be slowed down unnecessarily, and we don't want goods necessarily that we've bought from the continent to be slowed down. So these things can be worked out. That yesterday was just a stunt, a political stunt by the French and the EU to try just to make things awkward for the viewers at 6 o'clock at night on the news. That's all that was. That's not something. The world can't operate like that, and it's not going to continue to operate like that. So that can just be put to the side as a stunt. But as far as borders are concerned, yeah, borders are necessary. borders are in opposition to globalism, which is just a complete free-for-all, a free-for-all for free movement of people and goods to undermine your own industry. So yeah, borders are necessary, and that's part of what is part of the essential philosophy of anti-globalism, is that borders matter.
Yeah, indeed.
Borders matter.
And within a respective, sections of the United Kingdom, whether that be in Wales, England, Scotland, or Northern Ireland, what we're noticing right now is we're noticing our freedoms are being removed. Our freedoms are being removed, because they say that there's a virus out there. And we're not saying that there's not a virus, but there's viruses every year and our freedoms are never removed. And, what I would like cast iron guarantees that our freedoms will be coming back. And they'll be coming back very soon. It won't be the situation where they bag what they've got and we're under more top-down control, I think is exactly what they're saying. So I would like just to play another video, and this is just to give us all something to look at. And it will put a smile on your face, but I have to say, you'll be smiling, but to me, it's kind of sinister the way that it is. So I would like to ask the live chat, whenever you see this video, if you leave us a message, if you tell us what you think. And once the video is over here, Aleister, I would like also, you haven't seen it before, I would like you to comment on it. Now, this is what's happening on the streets of Belfast just this week.
And those around you safe by following some simple steps. Put on your face covering before you enter any shop. Sanitize your hands, as well as your trolley or basket handles, both before and after use.
Oh my goodness me!
Your thoughts?
Oh, that's shocking. But as soon as I heard that voice, I thought of a film called They Live. Yeah. Which, if you have not seen it, I do advise everybody to see. And it's a dystopian film set probably around about the time we are today, called They Live, which is people that there's people who walk among us who are actually aliens, and you don't see them unless you put on the special glasses. And suddenly you see normal people and the aliens are broadcasting really strange messages that you only hear when you put your glasses on. And you only hear, and it's that sort of voice with that sort of tone telling you that sort of thing. And, I watched it maybe 25 years ago or whatever, and I had a laugh about it, and I thought that's a bit creepy. But that's here today. That's here today. That's shocking. That and what's it saying? Like something about like washing your hands after you've flushed the toilet.
It's a short clip. Let's just play it again. Because you did see it. You're not dreaming. You're not.
And those around you safe by following some simple steps. Put on your face covering before you enter any shop. Sanitize your hands, as well as your trolley or basket handles, both before and after use.
Sanitize your shopping trolley before and after use. I don't know if I'm not going to be doing any of that, and I don't have time for that. Life's too complicated as it is, without having to sanitize a shopping trolley every time you walk into or out of Asda. Yeah. I mean, and it's nothing else about hand sanitizers, right? They're 90% alcohol. If you sanitize your hands and then you put on the gas stove, I mean, you're literally in danger of burning your hand, by the way. And there's YouTube videos on this, and it's because there's fumes coming off that. There's fumes coming off your hand. So you put that near a naked flame and it can set your hand alight. And maybe, I think that's, from what I've seen on YouTube anyway, it's not particularly nice. So who wants to rub your hands with all this stuff? It's totally weird to me. And what upsets me as well is that it's creating a generation of people, especially young people, who are growing up with this and are growing up almost being taught to have a sort of what's the phrase, OCD attitude to things, which some people have, but all of this is doing is it's making it worse, and especially young children. And I had a terrible thing the other day with this whole COVID. I call it the COVID carry-on pantomime because I just can't be doing with it personally, and because I grew up on a farm, and on a farm there are, as people in rural areas will know, it's like it's not hygienic in any way, shape, or form. There's blood and dirt everywhere on a farm, but I grew up perfectly healthy. My immune system adapted to that, and the body is made to handle all sorts of stuff. If you subject it to it, the body will deal with it. And we see that like in areas of the world that are less hygienic maybe than where we live. Young children, they still grow up largely healthy and fit and strong, so the body adapts. This idea that we've all got to hide away from danger is just weakening the immune system. The immune system needs to be exposed to all sorts of challenges in order to build and develop. I used to be a natural health therapist for many years when I was younger. And, I got into all of this sort of stuff, how to stay healthy naturally, and one of the things is just allow your body to submit to those sorts of dangerous things, and your body will adapt, and especially it will adapt if you stay fit and healthy and eat properly. And that's what should be promoted by the system. The system shouldn't be going like, wear a mask and hide away and lock yourself in the closet. The system should be saying, get out there, get to the gym, get running, get your vitamins, get as much sunshine as you can here in the British Isles, and stay fit and healthy and eat well. That's what should be the message. It shouldn't be this defensive message. It should be very much more of an aggressive, healthy message, to increase your resilience. A couple of years ago, the Scottish administration and everywhere else in the UK was saying, eat 5 a day, eat your 5 vegetables a day, get lots of exercise, so on and so forth. Those were healthy messages that they were giving, healthy messaging. Now it's all defensive messaging, like hide away, cover yourself over, don't touch anybody, don't travel if you don't need to. It's creating, whether it is intentional or not, it's creating a weakened human body. That's what's happening. And that's only going to make, if there is a virus out there, which we can talk about, no doubt, but I know some people have their opinions on it one way or the other. But if there is one out there, you fight it by becoming stronger, not by hiding away and weakening yourself in the face of it.
Yeah, and that's just one question for you, Aleister, but I certainly don't see this in Northern Ireland, and people that have spoken to in England and in Wales, that they haven't seen it. But I mean, where's is the National Health Services, the doctors, is these chief medical officers, are they promoting the benefits of a healthy immune system? Are they promoting the benefits of taking certain things like the vitamins that helps us fight these viruses? I mean, build up and boost your immune system. I haven't heard that. All I've heard is car away in the corner and stay away and absolutely demolish your immune system.
Exactly.
Yeah, this is what these people seem to be doing.
They're not leading us in the right direction at all. And it goes back to what I was saying about switch off the mass media, in the sense that the mass media is not giving you positive messaging. And every day, I still get 1 or 2 national newspapers each day, and I have to do that because of the work that I do. But every day, these papers will have at least 1 or 2 big full-page adverts from the Scottish administration telling us these false messaging, basically. but that paper is getting paid tens of thousands a day for those adverts, thousands of pounds a week for those adverts. And so they have no interest in stopping that messaging because they're doing very well, thank you very much, as a consequence of that advertising revenue. And so you have to say, when's that going to stop? It's only going to stop if, and the same with BBC and STV. And I don't know what it's like for the local television in Northern Ireland, but I should imagine it's very similar.
Yeah, very, very similar. Aleister, now I would like to play another video here, and we're coming to a close. Now we'll go over by a few minutes in the time frame that we should be around. But as I say, we're determined after this video, we're going to make this a happy stream. We're going to talk about the benefits of the United Kingdom, the benefits of standing together, the benefits of people, as many people as humanly possible, coming together to fight for each other's survival in a meaningful and a proactive way. But I would like just to play this video. Now, before I play this video, I'm going to say to the people on the live chat, and also anyone that's watching, and also to yourself, Aleister, this isn't about promoting Nicola Sturgeon. I'm just about to play you a video of Nicola Sturgeon and what she's been getting up to over the last few days. But really, this is pointing out, and it just hasn't happened in Scotland. This has happened in Northern Ireland. This has happened in the Irish Republic, and also in England and in Wales. The people that are making the decisions, the people that are making the rules and the regulations, well, these people are quick to break their own rules and regulations. And just this week, Nicola Sturgeon, she was caught out breaking her own rules. Now, she does apologise, but let's just play the clip, Aleister. I'd like then to ask you a question, and I'd like for the people on the live chat just to also leave your opinion on the live chat.
Scotland's First Minister pictured standing in a bar at a funeral wake without a face mask. She broke her own rules, and today, mask back on, she offered the Scottish Parliament a robust apology.
I want to take this opportunity to say how sorry I am for my breach of rules that I ask all of us to follow every single day. I want to be clear today that regardless of the circumstances, I was in the wrong. There are no excuses. These rules do apply to me just as they do to everyone else, and the rules really matter.
Over to you, Aleister.
Yeah. Well, I suppose you could say certainly that it seems to be one rule for us and one rule for them, certainly. I mean, my own view on the matter is that I don't believe that masks might make any difference anyway. There was the best study that's been done to date was a Danish study that came out about a month ago that said that it doesn't actually make any difference. I think when I look about, there's various people that wear masks these days, but ultimately I think some young men like wearing masks because it makes them look kind of menacing. I've noticed that. I think some young women like wearing masks because it's a kind of feminine sort of modesty thing that they're getting into, which is a little bit disturbing because that's going to end up in a certain way that we could, that certain various religions have. Don't want to go down that line, but I know some young women like sort of that as well. So for them, it's a fashion thing. And then for a certain element of the political class, it's, they like doing it. And the people who support, I've noticed the people who support the SNP love to wear masks because Nicola Sturgeon wears a mask, whereas we independent-minded unionists such as myself try to wear a mask as little as possible. Obviously, sometimes we have to do it because we can't get on a train or something like that, so you have to do it to an extent just to survive, basically. But there are some people who really, really do like wearing it for political reasons or fashion reasons, or because they think it makes them look like something out of Batman. But I do think that if the politicians are going to be wearing it, they should be wearing it all the time. I don't particularly believe that you should wear it, though. And I would like to, and I do hope very quickly that we come to a day when people are encouraged not to do so. Because it is also a submissive thing, wearing a mask is like a kind of sign of submission in a way. I don't know, but there is something there that's unusual, and it's not nice. Like, you're trying to talk to somebody and you can only see their eyes. I mean, that's pretty messed up, quite frankly. So I'm very much anti-mask, but I do know that there are quite a lot of people who believe it for various reasons. I don't know what the mask situation is like in Northern Ireland. Are all the politicians wearing it over there?
Yeah, well, I'm going to say that, I mean, at least Nicola Sturgeon, I mean, at least she was only taking her mask off at a I think, I don't know, was it a funeral or whatever, and breaking her own rules. I mean, our politicians, the Republicans, they gathered together in a group of 1,800 people, and they got together and they went to their friend's funeral and breaking their own rules. And they done that quite blatantly. And not only that, and this is just to add insult to that injury, but our PSNI, apparently they're still investigating it, and we're waiting on the report coming through any day saying that there was no regulations broken.
Oh yeah.
That's how it goes. Look, as I say, we're determined to stay happy today because this is Christmas, and we've just had the year that none of us could ever have imagined, and we're coming towards the beginning of a new year. And Christmas is always a good time. I like Christmas. And even though that my extended family can't come and spend the Christmas and have the Christmas that we normally have, because of their own reasons. I mean, some of them they don't want to break regulations. They want to stay within the guidelines, and this is where society has came to. But look, I'll still be having a good time over Christmas, and I'll still be contemplating what the new year holds and what we can be doing in the new year. And I would like to again ask the people on the screen here is that we're just, we're here for another 10 minutes, say. And what we would like to do is we would like to discuss positive things, what it is that we should be doing. I see Richard Tallop has already put up something that we should be doing for the future. So we'd just like to ask the live chat, I mean, make some recommendations for both ourselves here at Restore and also for A Force for Good, and tell us what it is that we need to be doing in 2021, what it is that we need to be doing together with the people that's on the stream, and and together we should be working together, and let's make 2021 the time when the people of the United Kingdom came together in a way that has never ever been seen before. So we'd just like to pop this up by Richard, and if you could just have a look at it, Aleister, and I'll ask you for a comment on that.
Richard says we need lots of subtly and cleverly positive and patriotic videos about Britain for social media. I totally agree with you, Richard. We need to get the positive message of unity out there as much as possible, because we are about unity. We're about togetherness. We're quite literally about family. We like to talk about the United Kingdom being a nation of families, even more so than what the politicians call us, which is a family of nations, which you can call us, certainly. But we like to turn that around and emphasize that we are a nation of families. So videos which emphasize that togetherness is so important, because that is what is at the root of unionism and opposition to disunity, as Edward Carson said, as John reminded us at the start of this program. So those sorts of videos and entertainment, and even the sort of stuff we're doing tonight, which is just chatting away between like minds, is very good, and it gives heart and encouragement to people who are watching in to know that they're not alone. Because if all you did was watch the BBC and your local independent channel like STV, then you would believe that you were on your own, But the reality is that there's millions of us out here who are concerned about the future of our United Kingdom that has been built up over politically hundreds of years, but socially and culturally over thousands of years. And we're concerned to keep that together and not to literally devolve and degenerate us into feuding factions that will be at each other's throats forevermore. So the United Kingdom is a place where we can all swim about in a very big pond. And that's the good thing about it. And we can avoid the people in the ponds that we don't necessarily want. And we can swim about and we can get on with our lives. And we can all generally, from whatever political faction, prosper. However, if you try to take us all out of that pond and put us into little goldfish bowls, then we're going to do what fish do in little goldfish bowls, which is end up eating each other. So we've got to keep swimming about the big British pond, as I like to say. Yeah. And we can do that, and we need to keep promoting that. But it's going to be up to us, because we can't rely, unfortunately, upon our politicians to do it. We hope that we have politicians that will do it. We pray for our politicians to be wise like that, but we can't rely upon them to do that. So it's up to the rest of us to try to do that, and to find hope and find heart in whatever other speakers and presenters and programs that we can find on the wonderful internet, which is an amazing invention. And there's a lot of good voices and a lot of good voices of hope out there. And John's Restore GBNI is a great advancement in that. And check in A Force for Good as well. And of course, there's other groups out there doing what we're doing as well. But let's, as John says, let's come together and let's make unity and togetherness the watchwords for 2021.
Yeah. And I like to say that, I mean, we were forced to the position, Aleister, whereby that we needed to learn to present these type of shows. And we needed to learn. I mean, I was a fish out of water whenever I started this type of thing. Now, don't get me wrong, I would have done videos, I would have given my opinion, but this presenting is a whole different ball game. But look, you know, we're becoming better at it, and we're perfecting these skills. And with the people that we have in the background, you know, the people that look for the articles, that look for the politicians' words, that cut videos for us, you know, without those people, and I'm asking people to join with us, to help, to collectively, we have a shared wealth of talent right around the United Kingdom, and we are stronger together. And if we pull that shared wealth of talent, you know, we're going to be unstoppable, because our enemies do that. They team together right across the Western world, as I say, in order to derail our successes. Isn't it time that we give them much of their own medicine? So I would just like to pick Jim Werner up on something there that he just said. And I will say, so after Christmas, I'll just read this. After Christmas, we use these streams as a platform to build back better United Unionism by getting like-minded people on board. Jim, I like that. I like that phrase where you've borrowed from the World Economic Forum and this Great Reset, build back better. Boris was using that build back better, and most of the PMs and the premiers right across the world are using that. In fact, our own Prince Charles is using that language right now, build back better. But they're not looking to build unionism back better. They're looking to build globalization. Now, here's the thing. Whenever they attack unionism, whenever they tell us that this is the new normal and we need to move into the Great Reset, where we reset absolutely everything, and we must look at that in the future, where we identify exactly what it is that they're trying to reset. And one of the things that they want to reset is nationality. One of the things that they want to reset is borders. They want to make open borders where people can travel wherever they want and they can come to whoever's country. And the other thing that they want to reset is your right to having a government that can make decisions within our own land. They're wanting to far remove this globalist government, and it's a place where, look, we never be able to change anything once they get their hands on the levers of power. And if it's left up to our politicians are going to gladly hand the levers of power off to someone else. And that is totally wrong. So yes, Jim, I agree. We should use these streams as a platform to build back a better unionism in 2021.
I absolutely agree.
Yeah. So I would just like, we're about to close. This is the point on the show where what we do is that Aleister, you're our guest, and I would like for you to tell the people on our stream, and for the people that watches this video afterwards, just tell them about a force for good and what a force for good is, and what it is, your vision for yourself, and you've a force for good looking after the people in Scotland and reaching out to people right around the United Kingdom. Tell us all about it, Aleister.
Thank you very much. A Force for Good is a campaigning group and also a think tank promoting the British Union of Scotland, England, Northern Ireland, and Wales. And we're on various social media platforms under the name UK A Force for Good. And you can follow us and subscribe to us on all of that. As far as what we've been talking about tonight about Brexit, we do have a Brexit Vision, and it is a 4-point vision. We want all 4 corners of Britain to come together to make it work. We want Britain to grasp the new ways that it will have to invest and reindustrialize and create jobs. 3, we want Britain to remain committed to the peace and prosperity of Europe through serving in the NATO alliance and continuing to trade, as we always will, with the continent, because the continent needs us to trade with. And 4, we want to reestablish strong relationships with the Commonwealth and the rest of the world, because there's great potential in being free to trade with 194 countries in the world and not just 27 countries in Europe. So we have a strong idea of what we're about, and we have a strong vision for the future. And you can see our regular stuff on Facebook, Twitter, Parler, Instagram, and YouTube. And please do subscribe to us on YouTube if you can. As it happens at the moment, we're running a crowdfunder, our annual Yule Britannia crowdfunder, which is at crowdfunder.co.uk, where we aim to raise the bulk of the money that's going to take us through to 2021, which is going to be a big year in Scotland, because of course we've got the Holyrood elections coming up, when Nicola Sturgeon is going to try to use it as authority to demand a second referendum. So we're going to have to be up against that next year. There's a lot of challenges that are going to be facing all of us throughout the United Kingdom next year, especially on the cultural level as well. What we've witnessed in 2020 isn't going to go away. We're going to have to push it away, and that's going to require a lot of work. So we are up for the task, and we're going to be here through the year. Please do support us if you can. I just want to say to you, John, thank you very much for having me on your show tonight. And I hope to be back, and we hope to get you on our program as well next year, after we've taken a couple of weeks break over the Christmas season. We're going to be back with a new reformatted weekly program, and so we look forward to ensuring that we unionists throughout the length and breadth of the British Isles can be heard with our positive message, because we are the positive ones. The clue is in the word unionism. Okay, that's the positive word, and that's what we're all about, is getting closer together for us all. So thanks for having me on your show, John. All the
Yeah.
best. And Merry Christmas to you.
A Merry Christmas to you too. Look, I would like to thank you for coming on, and I mean that from the bottom of my heart. Is that it's always refreshing to find people in Scotland of a like mind. You know, over the centuries, over the years, we've had a great affinity with people in Scotland.
Yeah.
I mean, our brothers and our sisters is the truth of the matter. And you know, I was talking just a couple of weeks ago. I had a man on from Newcastle upon Tyne, and you know, and I sort of say that you know, those type of people are just like us.
Oh yeah, I've noticed that, definitely. I love Newcastle. Yeah, it's brilliant.
Wales too. Wales are brothers and sisters in Wales.
Yeah.
And not to say that there's not good people in England, because there's many good people, our friends, right throughout the length and breadth of the United Kingdom. And we, you know, if anything I want to do in 2021, you know, as Jim Werner had said, I want to build back better and build back a better unionism. And, you know, until there's no breath left in my body, I will continue to fight to maintain the United Kingdom. And it doesn't matter. I was listening to a man over the last few weeks where he talked about the battle at the gate. Well, right now, the battle is at the gate. Right now, we're about to cross the gate, perhaps, if depending on what Boris Johnson has agreed. I mean, I'm fearful that it may go the wrong way, but what we'll do is we'll reserve the judgment until we see the detail of the actual deal. But no matter what happens, do not be disheartened, people. Don't be disheartened, because even if the battle goes beyond the gate, well, you know something, it's not the end, you know, it's the end of the beginning.
That's right. Politics doesn't have an end. You know, politics doesn't have an end. Some people think of politics as like it's suddenly ended now. No, it's always moving. So there's always opportunities.
Yeah. So together we can make the United Kingdom a strong place. Together, what we can do is we can begin to educate our young people. We can begin to show them our history. We can begin to show them why it is that so many people from the United Kingdom throughout the years, they gave themselves to stand between aggression and, you know, a sense of normality for the people of the United Kingdom. And we owe it to those people to ensure that their memories lives on, to ensure that people like the SNP, people like the Sinn Féin, people like the Alliance Party, people like the Labour Party and the Lib Dems, and in Wales, you know, the Plaid Cymru people, we owe it to those people, the people that gave themselves and gave their all and sacrificed their lives in many cases. We owe it to those people to ensure that their memories won't be teared down by these left-wing, woke nut jobs, these destabilizers, these people that want to, they say that they want to gain back their control, Scottish National Party, they want their nationalism back, to give it to the EU and to accept laws from a power which means them most harm, from a power that wants to destroy the nation state, that wants to destroy Britain for the British, Ireland for the Irish, America for the Americans. They say that it is unchristian, pernicious, and politically dangerous. I have that in writing. That comes from a man that works for the UN, and that's what he told me. So that's what those people mean. And you know something, in 2021, we're here to aim and to ensure that that man's words, they don't come true.
Absolutely.
Together, strong. Aleister, thanks very much. Thanks to the people on the screen again. And, you know, a very, very Merry Christmas. I mean that from the bottom of my heart. And we're going to come back in the new year. In fact, we will have one more stream next week again. So please join our show next week. And I would like to ask the people on our screen, please ask your friends and family to give us a like, to give us a share. And also, I would say to the people that come from our stream to go and search out a force for good and a force for good and stand with those people. And hopefully in the very near future, it'll not be in the virtual world. It'll be physical. We will be standing together, helping our brothers and sisters in Scotland stand up against the people that means to take Scotland away from the United Kingdom, only to hand it on to these globalists which want to destroy the concept of nation state.
Absolutely.
Thanks very much, people. So I'd like to play us out with our theme tune.
Our theme tune, excellent.
I think you know what's coming, and this is the new improved version. And many thanks to Jim Werner for putting this together for us.
Okay.
So here we go. We're just about to play us out. So
Okay.
Aleister,
Good night.
Cheerio, everyone. Cheerio, and Merry Christmas.
just across the Irish Sea, stirs a heart of loyalty, raising honor and indignity, drives the will to keep us British free. Not alone are we on this journey, we're in a land just across the sea. It's a hand that reaches out of friendship, and a bond that's lasted centuries. And its hands across the water, reaching out for you and me, for Queen Ulster and for Scotland, help to keep our loyal people free. Let the cry be no surrender, let no one doubt our loyalty, reaching out to the brave red hand of Ulster is the hand across the sea. Help to keep our loyal people free. Let the cry be no surrender, let no one doubt our loyalty, reaching out to the brave red hand of Ulster is a hand across the sea. Just across the Irish Sea, stirs a heart of loyalty, raising honor and dignity, drive the will to keep us British free. Not alone, we on this journey, for in a land just across the sea, it's a hand that reaches out in friendship, it's the hand across the sea, it's the hand across the sea, it's a hand across the sea.
Weariness in this House over Brexit should not be an excuse for weakness on Brexit or weakness on the Union. It must be Brexit for the whole of the United Kingdom, leaving the single market and the customs union, if that is what the rest of the UK does, along with the rest of the UK. This deal puts Northern Ireland, yes, in the UK customs union, but applies de facto all the European customs union code. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Read the detail. It also puts us in the VAT regime. Yes. It also puts us in the single market regime for a large part of goods and agri-food without any consent up front, contrary to the agreement made in December 2017, which said that only regulatory difference could happen with the consent of the Executive and the Assembly. It drives a coach and horses through the Belfast Agreement by altering the cross-community consent mechanism. It was once said that no British Prime Minister could ever agree to such terms. And indeed, those who sought the leadership of the Tory party said that at our conference.
Yes.
Will he now abide by that? And please reconsider the fact that we must leave as one nation together. There may be special circumstances for Northern Ireland, but that can only be with the consent of the people of Northern Ireland, Unionists and Nationalists together. That is the basis on which the peace process, the political process, has advanced.